Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Charlotte Tross and I am the Director of Education for New Chapter. And today we're here to talk about all things sustainability. So we're super excited to talk about sustainability with you today and how you can make an impact in your own lives at home. So one of the things that I think that, first of all, let me apologize. Sorry, we're running a few minutes late this evening, but we had a little technical difficulties because I am not the most tech savvy person in the world. I will just admit that right now. What I do know a little bit about is sustainability. So I'm really excited to share that with you this evening and to talk about ways that we can become better stewards of the earth, which is what this is entitled. So please feel free to engage with me, ask questions. And again, I'm super excited to answer any questions that you may have about how you can bring sustainability into your own life. So a couple of things. First of all, what is sustainability? So first of all, when we talk about sustainability, sometimes I think that there are unreasonable standards when it comes to people's ideas of sustainability. What I mean by that is that you start talking about sustainability conversations and people are like, oh my gosh, like I'd have to change my life completely in order to be more sustainable. And is that there are small ways that we can all make differences in our lives that make big impacts for the earth, because when we all do something, even though it may seem like small things, those small things really add up. So first and foremost, what is sustainability? So the definition is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. And that doesn't sound very romantic or very earthy. So let me break it down a little bit more because it almost sounds a little bit painful. Sustainability is when we can develop and we can have that development meet our needs in the present without compromising our future. And that's a really cool idea, right? And what I think I link most with sustainability is mindfulness, right? Knowing what you have and knowing what you need, right? And that's a very simple concept that I think we can all kind of get down with. So, as we talk about sustainability in our own lives tonight, as we talk about, I have tons of tips and tricks about how you can bring sustainability into your own life, but I also have some ways that we at New Chapter are working on sustainability ourselves to help people and planet as we move forward together. So first of all, a big shout out to Nature's Fair for hosting this. I'm super excited to partner with them. They are an exceptional store that really believes in sustainability. And what I love about it is that Canada actually has a federal sustainable development strategy for your country, which is so exciting because, again, it's showing that this initiative is really important to a lot of people. One of the things that I really love, though, is that sustainability doesn't have to be this intangible thing. It doesn't have to be something that, like, a big government, office has to get together and sit down, decide to be sustainable, right? We can all find ways to be sustainable every day. And what does that look like? So there's a lot of ways that you probably already know, right? When you think about sustainability, what do you immediately think of, right? Recycling, right? Everyone thinks of recycling immediately. Again, they did an excellent job when they were teaching about recycling. And again, it makes a big difference when we recycle. So recycling is kind of one of those gimmies, but how can we make recycling easier in our own homes? And so the idea is to make recycling easier than throwing things away. And how do you do that? So again, having different trash receptacles, so having your recycling bin right next to your, waste receptacle or your trash as they call it, because here's the idea that I have a problem with sometimes is that idea that trash just magically goes away. And it doesn't, right? And that's why recycling is so important. I was fortunate enough to live in Japan for a while. And in Japan, the recycling is insane. Like you have your burnables bin, you have your compostables bin, you have your plastic bin, you have your paper bin, and you have to separate everything out very meticulously, right? And if you don't do that, you can get fined by the government for not recycling. And again, that's not necessarily the way that we do things here, but again, they have that system in place. So having a good system in place to encourage recycling is a great way to encourage your house to really start thinking more sustainably, right? So make recycling as easy as you do making things to throw away. The next is that understanding, that your diet actually has a lot to do with your sustainability and your carbon impact, right? So perhaps you guys have heard of this concept of meatless Mondays, right? Again, the average Western diet leads to a lot of CO2 emissions, right? About 2.5 tons per person. And for a meat lover, people who are on those keto diets, right? This amounts to 3.3 tons. So a lot more, again, because of that meat consumption. So if you don't eat meat, you're actually going to save a lot of carbon emissions throughout the year. And that may seem simple, but it's not as easy as a lot of people think, because if you think you're doing the right thing by eating, like, let's say, a veggie burger, yes, you are making an impact, but you're also maybe still eating like milk and eggs, right? That actually has an impact as well. So a lot of people will say that the most sustainable thing that you can do is go vegan. And people are like, see, Charlotte, this is where you lose me. This is where you lose me. You told me that I was going to be able to do simple tips and tricks, right, in order to become more sustainable. And now you're talking about going vegan, lady, and that makes me suspect. You're suspect, lady. And I don't blame you, right? But here's the thing, right? This is why I love sustainability so much, because it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be just as simple as going for a meatless Monday or having a vegan meal a couple of times a week, and understanding that you are reducing the amount of CO2 emissions that it takes to feed you. And that's a really exciting concept, because it's not about if you go vegan all the time to make enough impact. It's about if we all do our part in order to reduce that amount on a daily basis. And it's those small things that can make really big differences. So another thing that I really love about working for New Chapter is that we practice sustainability when we're making something very important, which is called our fish oil. Our fish oil is called Omega. One of the reasons that I love it is because it's made with truly sustainable fish. And how do we know that, right? Well, first of all, you may not know that our oceans are really suffering right now, and that, anchovies and sardines are some of the most exploited fish out there. And what happens is that because they're so overfished, it's actually taxing our oceanic ecosystems, right? And the really hard part is that a lot of these fish are coming from, off the coast of Peru and South America, and they're finding too many juvenile fish, okay? So juvenile fish are fish that are too young in order to be caught. And the fishermen are actually protesting the allowable catches that are set by the government, because they realize that if they catch this much, there may not be enough left for the next year. So the people who are depending upon the fish catch are actually saying, please, please stop. We can't be doing this because of the environment. At New Chapter, we understand that fish oil is a really important part of your diet. Your brain is fat, and it needs fats in order to be healthy. Your cardiovascular system also needs healthy fats, right? So how can we get you these healthy fats but not tax the ocean? And that's by using truly sustainable fish like we use in Omega with wild Alaskan salmon. And the reason that we source from Alaska is because no Alaskan salmon fishing stocks have ever been close to being depleted or overfished. And they're really closely managed by the Alaskan wildlife, management systems that are in place, so that there is no overfishing. So you can feel truly good about taking a sustainable fish oil like Omega. But another place that you may not be realizing that you may not be so sustainable is if you are drinking almond milk. How many almond milk fans do I have out there? Big fan of almond milk. Again, I love it because, again, we talk about like sustainability and trying to reduce, animal products and things like that because of CO2 emissions, because, obviously we understand that. But when you're talking about almond milk, the problem that we have with almond milk is that more than 50 million bees died in circumstances that a lot of environmentalists and beekeepers suggest is related to almond farming. And so what's happening is that sometimes these almonds are treated with pesticides, but they also rely on bees in order to, pollinate and flourish and let the almond crop grow. So these bees are basically sent into these situations to die, right? So again, we think that we're making a really smart and sustainable choice by choosing something like almond milk, right? Again, you're like, that's the best choice out there. It's great, especially nutritionally, right? But you actually could be making a more sustainable choice like coconut, hemp, oat milk, all require less water and have less of a carbon footprint than soy and rice milk. And again, they don't harm bees as often as people think that the almond crops may be leading to the bee decline. So again, there's a lot of people who are working on this, but there are ways to be simply sustainable by choosing a different type of alternative milk. So again, exciting small things that we can do to make big impacts sustainably. So another thing that we can talk about is packaging, right? Packaging is a huge issue. As a mom of three really active kids, I can tell you that they love their snacks. They're really into snacks, and all of their snacks used to be packaged in all of these individual wrappers, and it would drive me crazy because I felt like we were producing so much waste. And so I really wanted to find cool ways that I could make us a more sustainable household. And so we actually started to make some really simple switches. I'm going to show you a couple of them today. So the first one is that in their lunchbox, I went from using plastic bags, plastic Ziploc bags. Again, when you're thinking about cost wise, you can spend, I don't know, about $5 on a bag of the or a box of these, right? And then, they take them to school, they throw them away, or, they're usually left in the back of my car with, O's in the back of them. But instead of that now, we've actually moved to these really cool, containers. They're reusable. They are totally dishwasher safe, and they're able to be, of course, more sustainable. So finding small ways to reduce the amount of plastic that you use that can't be recycled, and moving towards containers like this is a great way that you can help your household to be more sustainable. Other types of packaging that you should be aware of is that there's naked soaps out there. And I know that sounds a little saucy, but what I'm really talking about is soaps that are not packaged in anything, that you can just buy, again, at the store. And they don't have any packaging to them. And again, that's really great because it's one less thing to throw away. And if they are packaged, look for ones that are packaged in paper so that they can be recycled. When you start to think about your purchases, not in terms of, this is just what I need, but also this is the most recyclable packaging that's available to me. Again, you can have these great and big impacts on that just by making these small switches. That's another thing that we do at New Chapter 2, is that sometimes we have things that look small that actually make quite a big impact. What you'll notice from us is that we're really committed to sourcing ingredients organically whenever possible, and sourcing non-GMO wherever possible as well. We're very committed to these because we know that it's good for the environment. And that's the thing that we really try and say is that, we're not perfect. It doesn't happen all of the time, but whenever it's possible, we do. And that's the thing I think that we can all relate with, is on sustainability, is that it's not about being perfect. I don't think that, many of us are able or in a position to give up all plastic packaging, to give up all parts of our life that we feel are unsustainable. Again, it would be awesome if I could bike to work every day. That would be amazing, right? I would be in A, amazing shape, and B, I would, be reducing my carbon footprint. It's not practical because I have to drop a kid off at therapy before I have to go into the office sometimes, or back to the house. And it's not a practical option for me. But what is a practical option for me is to really think about, is my car, responsible on gas? Does it have good gas mileage to make sure that it's a good sustainable choice? The other thing that you can think about is simple ways that you can, improve efficiency sustainability wise. So let's talk about what this looks like. Now, some of these ways may sound a little painful at first, but just remember, change is cool. You got to get used to it though, but it can be a little complicated sometimes, right? But remember, it's just a little drop in the bucket to help us all fill that bucket up to start protecting the earth for future needs, right? All right. So what are some ways that we can do that? First of all, Ladies, listen up. Let's talk about sanitary products, okay? In the United States alone, we buy about 5.8 billion tampons a year. I know that you buy less in Canada, but that's still a lot of plastic applicators that are out there. And there are other alternatives that we can use, like menstrual cups, which are reusable. We have washable period pants right now. That's so cool. Totally didn't have that when I was growing up. And they even, of course, have cardboard applicators. So looking at packaging is a really cool way that you can say, hey, how can I be more sustainable with this? What's another way that I can not create as much waste, but as still, be comfortable? And that's really important, to a lot of women. And of course, it's important to me. I know it's important to you. But it also, it's possible to be sustainable with it. Again, a small change that might make a big difference if we all start to invest in these small changes. So again, I'm just going to kind of open up. I'm trying to monitor the chat at the same time. Sorry, it's a little difficult to do that. So again, help me out as I'm trying to see if I have any questions or anything. Sustainability is a huge factor. I love this talk on the fish oils. I'm all about fish oils. I'm all about sustainability for that. Trust me, it's really important that we care about the earth and that we're all in it together right now. Yay, organic and non-GMO. Absolutely preach, sister. I'm all about organic and non-GMO. So let's talk a little bit about non-GMO for a minute. Non-GMO, people are like, well, how is that sustainable, Charlotte? And remember, we're protecting the resources that we have for tomorrow. And when we're protecting the resources of today, we are able to keep them for tomorrow. And one of the ways that we do that is with things like heirloom seeds, right? Now, a lot of times people think, well, Charlotte, if you genetically modify food, you get more food, right? Isn't more food the idea? So let's talk about more is not always more, okay? So again, we tend to live in abundant Western countries, right? Where things like water are abundant or food is abundant. But when you have such abundance, what you often have is waste. Okay. And we all have this, right? I mean, again, being a mom, I used to do my shopping trip totally different. I would go to the store every week. Everybody would tell me what they wanted or what they thought they would want that week to eat. And I would try and throw it all in the cart. And at the end of the week, we would end up throwing away a lot of produce. And so we, of course, like many people who were trying to be more sustainable, we were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to compost, because composting is the answer, right? Again, if you don't have a compost bin at home, it's a great way to start being sustainable. Why I love compost bins is because literally, all your veggie scraps can go in there, all your fruit scraps can go in there, your eggshells can go in there. You can use it in your garden. It's super great to compost. Why people don't compost usually is because A, they don't know what can be composted. So again, animal products definitely don't want to compost that. Paper products, usually like newspaper, cardboard, these things can be composted. Even hair can be composted, but I got to be honest with you. Like, again, I'm a sustainability chick, but I'm not going to go through my hairbrush and I can't. You see what I'm saying? There's limits, people, but at the same time, I think that, we're all trying to make a dent so that we can preserve tomorrow. But composting is a great way, but there's a way to go beyond composting. Are you ready for this? All right. So instead of throwing away your veggie scraps, my husband actually has a glass container that he puts our veggie scraps in now, and now he makes them into a vegetable broth. And so at first I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but I gotta be honest with you, he makes this amazing tomato soup with that vegetable broth. It is incredible. And I don't know, there's some sort of magic going on. And I don't feel like we're wasting even the scraps of our vegetables anymore. Again, it may seem small, but it actually makes a really big impact when you think about loads and loads of people doing these things, right? And again, one less thing wasted. Another thing that contributes a lot to, I would say waste in general is what we would call fast fashion. So again, these clothes that you wear that fall apart really easily, that again just end up being thrown away, because again, it's not meant to last. So one of the things that we started doing as a family is investing in clothes. My kids hate this, but it's really cool because all of their clothes we buy, it's not fast fashion. It's sustainable clothes that are going to last. And then yes, they get hand-me-downs. Yes, yes. Even my daughter is getting her older brother's hand-me-downs. And you know what? They all survive. It's okay. But it's a more sustainable living, and it's a way that we can reduce our impact. Again, I promise you, she gets a cute dress every once in a while that's fast fashion because again, sustainability doesn't have to be painful. It's just being mindful. And that's what I'm really trying to drive home today, is that there are small things that you can do to really impact. One of the things that we do at New Chapter, again, is we source organically wherever possible. And why that's really important is because, the use of pesticides is not a sustainable practice. While it protects plants temporarily, it can affect the soil and it can affect the ecosystem around the plants. So when you're thinking about ecosystems around the plant, like bee-friendly plants, again, as you're planting your gardens, first of all, a great way to be sustainable is to grow your own food. I just want to really encourage you this summer to think about growing your own food. Having your ability to take your own vegetables out of your garden, or your herbs out of your garden, and take them straight to the table, it reduces your footprint by quite a lot. A lot of people don't realize the waste that happens in supermarkets quite often, and things like that. So again, we try to reduce that just by, again, growing your own. There's a lot less involved there. And the cool part of it is that if you're growing organically, grow some flowering plants, some bee-friendly flowering plants, because that's going to make your garden stronger, and it's going to mean that you're going to, be able to have more pollinators around, which is super cool as well. And you're going to be helping the environment in multiple ways by doing that. So again, at New Chapter, that's another reason we believe in sourcing organically wherever possible. And you're going to see us make a huge commitment to something called regenerative agriculture. So we're partners with the Rodale Institute, which is an institute in America that's the leading institute on regenerative agriculture. And what regenerative agriculture is all about is about putting nutrition back into the soil. One of the things that we've done by our farming methods, which by the way, our farming methods are unsustainable in a large part because the soil gets tilled and it gets turned so often that the soil is actually less nutrient dense now than it was before. And when you have soil that's less nutrient dense, your food is less nutrient dense. So what the Rodale Institute is all about is about putting nutrition back into the soil, repairing our topsoil, so that our topsoil does something really important, which is keep more moisture in it. And when your topsoil can keep more moisture in it, we're actually protecting our water. So water is a really important part of sustainability, and something that I want to talk about tonight, because there are droughts happening in certain parts of the planet. And, there are families that are limited to how much water they get. So in certain parts of India that were struck by drought, families were limited. So a family of 5, like myself, would have been limited to 3 gallons of water per day. And I want you to think about how much water you use in a day. And the fact is that, we tend to think because water magically comes out of this tap that it's going to last forever. But the truth is that we have to be mindful of water as a resource and protect it for the future. And there's simple and easy ways that you can do that, right? The easiest one I know that you guys train your kids to do is to not leave the water on when you're brushing your teeth, right? And that happens all the time. My kids are out there brushing teeth. I'm like, do you leave the water on? They're like, oh, and I hear them like scramble to turn it off real quick. But again, saving water where you can. Now, another one that was a little bit more painful for me, and I gotta be totally straight with you on this, okay? Again, I want to make sustainable small changes, but at the same time, I gotta say, I love my creature comforts, right? But one of the things that I was totally guilty of as being kind of a clean freak and a neat freak was pre-rinsing my dishes before putting them into the dishwasher, because I thought that it would loosen everything up, or I could pre-clean the dishes before, and like the dishwasher was like a sanitizer, right? And so when I was actually looking at this is probably one of the worst things that I could be doing water wise, because honestly, my dishwasher was doing a pretty good job. And second of all, by pre-rinsing my dishes, I was having to heat the water to pre-rinse the dishes, and then I was putting them into the dishwasher, and then the dishwasher was heating the water in order to wash them again. And again, it was taking 2 or 3 times the amount of water. And did I really need to be doing that? Another part is how often we wash our clothes. Like, again, if there's one thing that the pandemic has taught us, is that you don't need to wash your jeans every day. Again, I may have lost some followers there, but it's true. Again, there are certain things that we need to wash, regularly. I'm not saying to wear your undies twice, but I am saying that your jeans probably can be worn more than once. And it's a great way, again, small ways that you can make a big impact in your daily life. So again, let's just kind of go over what we've talked about today. First of all, sustainability doesn't have to be painful. Small steps make big differences when we all do it together. Second of all is you don't have to be a big government agency in order to affect real change. All of us can affect real change all the time. So the other part of it is that when you're looking at your household, don't just think about the things that you buy. Think about the things that you're buying with the things that you buy. And what I mean by that is think about how things are packaged. There's so much excess packaging going on. Think about, how will I get rid of this packaging? If it's cardboard, it's recyclable. At New Chapter, we make sure that we, of course, package in recyclable cardboard, but on top of that, all of our products, or most of our products, come in glass. And again, glass is super recyclable or reusable. One of my favorite things that we use at my house are these, trying to figure out which way is the camera. These jars, they're like mason jars, but we use them as glasses. Again, they're multi-useful, so I can pack leftovers in them, wash them, and then use them as glasses. It's amazing. But again, just small things, small odd things maybe that I do. So again, sustainable ways. Think about packaging when you buy things. Think about ways that, in your daily life, whether it be soaps or cotton swabs. By the way, cotton swabs, another huge thing that adds to waste because they have plastic in the middle of them. Think about ones with cardboard middles as opposed to the plastic. And they even have these really cool things called reusable cotton swabs. There's one called the Smart Swab, which looks really gross when you use it, but it's actually pretty cool. And then again, think about the way that you eat and how your diet contributes to sustainability, or it doesn't. Again, try and fit in a meatless Monday, or maybe a meatless Thursday afternoon. Every little bit helps. And then again, think about what you're choosing for your milk alternative choice. And again, big fan of the almond milk myself, but I do make other choices because, again, I'm trying to protect those bees right now. And if I need to use almond milk, sometimes I do, but for the most part, I go towards an oat milk or a coconut milk, which have been shown to be a little bit more sustainable and have a better carbon footprint. Again, look at your fashion, look at the way that you're washing your clothes. Again, cold water. I know I love that hot water rinse because it makes me feel like things are getting cleaner. But to be honest with you, unless I'm washing something really gross, I usually just wash in cold water. And again, do you really need to pre-rinse your dishes? Look at the water usage of your house and imagine for just a minute if you had to live on 4 gallons of water per day for a 5-person house, and what you would do with that. If there's one thing I think that the pandemic brought us up with is that maybe we can't think about what it would be like if water wasn't readily available, but it made us realize that, like, what if things in the United States, we ran out of toilet paper, and it made us really think about, like, what if toilet paper wasn't readily available? And again, we rely so much on these paper products, and we really have to get better about that, because obviously paper is not a great resource when you're talking about paper towels, when you can quite easily use something else. So, you can use a paper towel, but you can use this multiple times and it's great, and it cleans up things usually a lot better, and I can clean this up and save this for my demos on sustainability. So thank you, Mr. Paper Towel, for being here for that. Again, there are simple ways that you can be sustainable at home. I appreciate you being here with me this evening. I had a lot of fun talking with you about sustainability. Thank you to Nature's Fair, and thank you, of course, to New Chapter for being a leader in sustainability and for being great stewards of the earth. You too can be stewards of the earth at home. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at New Chapter or at Nature's Fair. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Charlotte Tross, and it was a pleasure.